Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. This week it's my turn, and my question is called Musician Mashup. And the question is, assemble a band from players of your choice and describe the music they would make, or a new genre that they would be creating. It could be a duo or a band of many. Now, I'm going to say that I didn't follow my own directions, and I instead came up with, I imagined a mashup not so much of specific people, but of instruments. And the two instruments I put together are Alpen horns and Taiko drums from Japan to create a genre I'd like to call Ambi-Alpen Taiko trance. Okay. So Alpen horns, for those who don't know, are those long horns seen in the Ricola commercials. And we'll have a link to one of those great Ricola commercials. There's a bit of mystery on their origin, but in this, apparently the 17th through the 19th century, collections of Alpine myths and legends suggest that the Alpen horn-like instruments had frequently been used as signal instruments for Swiss villages and communities in olden times that did not have church bells. And then taiko drums. Taiko in Japanese means drum generally. And you've probably seen some pictures or videos of the shirtless, well-muscled Japanese drummers drumming on these ginormous drums. We'll have a link to some of that, I'm sure. Taiko is also has a mythological origin in folklore, and it's the historical records suggest that they were introduced in Japan through Chinese and cultural influences. And their function has varied throughout history, ranging from communication, military action, and theatrical accompaniment, religious ceremony, and concert performances. Most likely today you'll see them in concert performances. So matching up these two might produce some drone-like sounds with repetitive rhythms, and slather that with reverb, and you've got a nice rave in the making. So that's my mashup for this week's question.
Funny you should mention Alpine horns. I was walking up to a protest over the weekend, and just south of Locust Street, I think it was, they on 12th, they've been doing road work, or they've been putting in new sewers. So they had these giant pipes like stacked up. So I just walked up to one, stuck my head in, and went Ricola, and it was like ear shattering. And then this one guy looked out his door like, I guess I wasn't the first one to do it. They gave that like, I am really tired of idiots doing that. But so I can't be the only one that does that. Everybody else must do that when they see those pipes. If not, think twice before you do it. You might get shot. Speaking of getting shot, let's talk about my band that I would put together. I would begin my band with in the back and the drummer, and the drummer I would choose for the band I would put together is a musician session drummer by the name of Jim Gordon. Jim Gordon had played in the 1960s and 70s with George Harrison. I don't care that much about him. The Beach Boys. He was a member of Derek and the Dominoes. But on Layla, that piano coda, piano, there we go, piano coda, the piano coda on Layla, he wrote that, interestingly enough. Yes, and also in 1983, a voice in his head told him to kill his 72-year-old mother. So he did. He's going to be the least onerous individual I'm going to be discussing. All right, up next, guitar. All right, this will be lead guitar. All right, lead guitar. You know how people like to kind of skip over HR from the Bad Brains flagrant homophobia. They do kind of the same thing with Leadbelly. A lot of people forget Leadbelly. Of course, Leadbelly had one of his old guitars was bought by Second Amendment enthusiast Kurt Cobain. They tend to forget the fact that he was actually convicted of murder and assault with intent to murder. He was freed and then later again convicted of assault with intent to murder. So there are some rappers that really have some catching up to do with him. Also country western singers. So he would be on lead guitar. Rhythm guitar would be Bobby Beausoleil. I can't believe that we've gone 6 minutes into the show without me mentioning the Manson family. Bobby Beausoleil, who you might know, he did the score for Kenneth Anger's Lucifer Rising, and he also killed his former roommate, Gary Hinman. Now, on bass, we got, to round out that rhythm section, on bass is Sid Vicious. Yes, Sid Vicious, who despite wearing a swastika and killing his girlfriend, or maybe she was killed by the CIA. I'm afraid to bring that up on this show to find out what people think. Anyway, he is still considered an icon by many, particularly people who plop down $12 for a used DVD of Sid and Nancy. And finally, who is going to sing for this band, you might be asking? Well, that would be Claudine Longet. If you don't know who Claudine Longet is, and I see Dean's laughing, Claudine Longet was a singer. She was an actress. She appears in the film The Parody with Peter Sellers, and she was also the former wife of Andy Williams. She might be best known for the fact that in 1976, she shot her boyfriend, Olympic skier Vlad Spider Savage, and that led to the greatest Saturday Night Live sketch of all time, the Claudine Longet Invitational. We will put up a list for it, but my family laughed so hard when they showed that. By the way, she shot him in the bathroom, and this is what she said she did. She said she walked in with the gun and went, "I would like you to tell me more about the gun and what the safety means." Boom. Try that with a bank, people. Walk in and go, I would like someone to explain to me the features of this shotgun. I'm also very interested in how the bank vault works and how much money someone can put into a bag. Jerry Lewis is a genius. So yeah, that is what I would put together as my band. I would call them We Killed Last Night. And they would play exclusively for critics, particularly critics who just can't stop going on and on about New York guitar rock, which is a thing that should have died around 2000, but people keep bringing up. So yeah, I'm gonna book a show. I'm gonna, like I say, bend space and time so I can have them all there, and then invite a bunch of critics and lock the door. So that's my idea.
There's no synth or keyboard player in this band?
No synth or keyboard player, oddly enough, has ever committed a crime. And I mean not even like a moving violation. There is not one, literally not one. It's. I guess your hair falls out, but other than that, no.
Okay, thank you.
For my band, I would recruit Sam Locke-Ward of SLW CC Watt, amongst other things, on guitar, keyboards, bass, vocals, drums, and maybe even Alpine Horn, or whatever that's called. Alpine Horn. Jimmi Buskirk of the Mega Yeah, Lehigh Valley's own, would be on guitars, vocals, and bass. They would interchange, I guess. And on drums would be Danjo Mars and Sherwin's own Marshall Fisher, keeping the beat steady. And I believe they would play a form of punk, but I wouldn't know. It would be all over the place because I would instruct them, if I was constructing this band, to just do whatever they want, write together and see what comes out.
You're the musical director?
Yeah, I'd be the director. Yeah, maybe I'd be the producer. I don't know.
You could be the conductor.
I don't know. All those folks are pretty famous. I don't know.
But I have their contact info. So yeah, that's the musical mashup I'd create.
Joe owes his friends money.
Maybe that one will actually happen.
Yeah, I was going to say that one's more likely to happen than the two so far.
I don't think mine's going to happen either. I chose Johnny Marr on guitar because he's probably the reason I like the band The Smiths. Like, I'm not really a huge fan of Morrissey. I got by listening to his voice for however many years, but the guitar just always stood out. I just think he has a great just idea of like different kinds of chords and progressions and notes. On bass, I was thinking Mike Watt, because I feel like both Johnny Marr and Mike Watt at times have like kind of like a funky kind of feel with like what they're doing, and I think that might put together might kind of, I don't know, go along pretty well. Yet I think the drummer would change things, because I was thinking Brian Springer. I guess Touch Me Zoo, Town Managers. He played the Low Budgets reunions with us. No Go Tell.
Is he in a band right now or not?
Yeah. Is it Gentleman Christ?
Gentleman Christ.
Yeah, they're pretty good. I recommend them. But he's the kind of drummer that I feel like he's just can do anything, like any genre. So he would find his groove with these two. And then to top it all off, Eric Burden of the Animals. Now, I haven't heard him in recent years, but if we're able to bend time, like Rodney was trying to do, then I would have like maybe like late 1960s Eric Burden, because he was doing some interesting stuff then. And like that's when he started playing with War. And I have no idea what kind of genre of music this would be, but I feel like it would be like nothing else. I guess all those guys are alive. Maybe that band could have. So yeah, that's my band.
Sounds good. Shall we talk about recommendations?
Why the hell not?
So my recommendation this show is well, first I'm going to ask this question to Rodney in particular, maybe Dan. Have you ever seen a movie called Population Zero?
Why do I know the name?
All right, so I just learned about this today and I thought it was very fascinating. Did you know, well, there's a Wikipedia page, which I'll send you to, and it's called The Zone of Death. And the Zone of
Oh,
Death,
it's bullshit. Yeah, I know. Somebody made a crappy fake documentary about it.
Oh, that's
it's where they tell
Zero
people
is a mockumentary.
Yeah.
But the Zone of Death is a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a 50 square mile area of the Idaho section of Yellowstone National Park, in which, as a result of a reported loophole in the Constitution of the United States, a person could theoretically avoid conviction for any major crime, up to and including murder. So Population Zero takes that and runs with it and talks about a guy who's a suspected murderer and took somebody there and murdered them. That has to do with like legal jurisdictions and the federal courts and the state courts and not being able to cross boundary lines and so forth.
Yeah, it's already been debunked.
Yeah, well, it's not listed as debunked on the.
Yeah, you can actually find out whole things about. Because somebody had asked before a legal expert about like, is that really true? And they said no. This group would step in, or that.
I'm sure somebody would come in and say no. We can. But part of it is also apparently there's almost no people living there. So could you come up with a jury of 12 of your peers? Anyway, I thought it was an interesting concept. We'll provide the link to the Wikipedia page and you can do your own research on that. Anyway.
Oh yeah, do your own research. I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, I'm a human expert and also a human rights lawyer.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, my recommendation. This is going to be all over the place because there's going to be recommendations going out to a lot of people. I was listening to We Have a Technical, as I often do, last week, and they brought up a festival with the ugliest poster ever made. So right now, folks, you are looking at the poster for the Dark Waves Festival which will take place out in Huntington Beach in November or something. Somebody brought up in some forum, they said it looks like it was made from a template. So now you're looking at that poster next to a template. It may indeed be that situation. But the thing is that the more they thought about it on the show and the more I thought about it, the more I just got pissed off at how horrible this is. Basically what happened, somebody over at Live Nation looked at Cruel World and went, we can do this. And so they sort of cherry picked anybody that even remotely had anything to do with the 80s. And there are some of these bands I've seen before, I wouldn't mind seeing again, but I would not spend money on something like this. Tickets for this run from $200 to $1,750, which is for, of course, some VIP area where they might have some shade. And they're going to be sold out soon, which means that there are a bunch of tickets being held back for the secondary market. Now, you might look at the poster and say, hey, wait a minute, it's got Twin Tribes and the Skeletal Family. It's possible somebody might come out to see the headliners and actually see these bands. Folks, these bands will be on and they'll get to play for 20 minutes each at 2 p.m. on like the Discovery stage. Most people who are going to see the headliner, right, will not be going to the Discovery stage to see these bands. Now, I don't want any of you geniuses in the comments to go, oh, I'd like to see the headliner and the Discovery stage. All right, did you legally have your name changed to most people? Can I see your ID? Was it a complicated process? It's like Not Sure in Idiocracy. It's kind of like when I did the, and I'm in that mood now where right after we did the whole thing where I took time to explain that a lot of the outsider musicians had actually become popular and people in the comments were like, I like Wesley Willis. Anyway, so now here's my thing. So I'm going to talk to the different people involved in this and give them recommendations. Live Nation, you don't have to do this. You don't have to be in the music industry. You can use your talents elsewhere. You can run a puppy mill or maybe knock off handbags. The bands that are involved in this, look, I realize you're getting older. Maybe your grandkids need braces. Maybe there's $12 in your 401k, but you don't have to sell your dignity to be part of this. And in the end, by the way, it hurts your bottom line. People will not pay to go see you in a club if they think they can see you on some oldies festival. And now the people who are thinking about going, don't go to these things. Really, do not go to these things. You know, selling 80s nostalgia, selling you your 20s back is a horrible thing. It's like, hey, look, it's Indiana Jones. Awesome. It's Ghostbusters. If you want 80s nostalgia, how about being nostalgic for when bands used to stand up to the music industry? If you, there are documentaries about all these bands where they're in them from back in the day saying, well, we stood up to this and we stood up to that. And now you know what you are? You're just another robot on the assembly line. Cha-ching. The only way they could actually make this festival worth my while is if they held it in some spot where you could legally kill people and not go to trial. But anyway, there's I want to throw in a link for Crack Magazine. Used to have this thing called Honest Ads, and they have an ad if music festivals were honest, and they have a thing called Hort Fest. And if you never saw the Crack Honest Ads, you should see those. But man, I really need it. I took one look at this thing and just got super angry and needed to get it off my chest. So thanks.
I'd like to recommend a perfectly grilled salmon with an amazing rub. It's a good rub for salmon if you're grilling. And I'll put the link to the site that has it, searedandsmoked.com. And the recipe calls for, I don't know, about a dozen ingredients you probably have in your spice cabinet. And then you just mix it up and rub it on the salmon. It tastes really good when you grill it or fry it. So yeah, it's a good rub.
I would recommend moving. I'm tired of where you're living. Move. Yeah, sure, it's a pain in the neck and the back, and sometimes it takes you 3-4 days or weeks, but it's so worth it. Being in a new place, it's just one of many walls, and you wouldn't be seeing this if I hadn't moved. So I recommend moving if you want.
My father used to shout, move your ass at me nearly every day. He was a big proponent of moving.
Keep moving and get out of the way.
the people that went to the show then last night, now they're watching.
Now they're watching
Yeah,
this.
those guys are
Oh,
so
yeah.
great. I can't wait to watch their weekly show tomorrow morning.
Yeah, let us know how it was in the comments. Let us know if it was all right or not. That'd be great. Let us know. We don't know how we did. This is the future or something.